Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Not Everybody Needs a Podcast with your host, Mackenzie Rencher. This past weekend, Darren and I were gone. I know it was Easter weekend. The kids had the best Easter ever at home. Him and I were in Cancun, Mexico at our anniversary trip that we've had planned for like 6 months now, or at least I had planned, and I surprised him for Christmas. And it was the best, most relaxing trip. I can't even tell you guys how much we needed that. And we ate so good. We didn't have to clean. That is like my number one thing with vacation, not having to clean, because we clean so many times a day when we're home, and not having to cook for yourself or even think about like, what do I want to eat? Like, it's just like already prepared for you. It was amazing. We got REM sleep. At home, we have to wake up multiple times a night. And yeah, it was just so nice to have uninterrupted time together. And I don't know if this will make sense, but just being in love and not just like parents in love. I texted my friends when they asked how the trip was. I was just like, it was just nice to be reminded that we really are just Mackenzie and Darren in love still. And yeah, I just think parenthood takes up so much of our lives together, and it's the most beautiful thing. We could not wait to get back to the babies. But yeah, I just think it's good to get away. I definitely want to start making a better rhythm of that, and not just on anniversaries. So we will definitely do that. I posted about it whenever we got there, and so many of you guys wanted to know what the resort was, and I know I told you guys on last week's episode, and I ended up posting a video all about it. So yeah, it was so relaxing. I got so much sleep and tanned, and the service there was amazing. And it was just so nice to get away with time with Darren. And then at home, the babies, this room is still recovering from Easter with them. I got them Easter basket stuff, and then our moms got them Easter basket stuff. So they had plenty of fun here. They did an egg hunt. They equals Beckham, because Kason obviously is not outside looking for the eggs. He is not walking yet, but he still had fun with his toys. And they put little giggles, which are like basically healthy Skittles, in the eggs, and then different toys in the eggs for her to find. And they did so good while we were gone. And yeah, they just had the time of their little lives. And it was obviously hard being away from them on Easter, but I feel like they had a better Easter with us gone, honestly, because they had my grandma here. So their great grandma, which Beckham is obsessed with, and then both of our moms. And so they were just well taken care of, and they had the time of their little lives. But I was very, very happy to be back home with them. And it's always so nice going on vacation and then also being happy coming back home, if that makes sense. Like knowing that your life here is beautiful as well. And yeah, but it's always nice to get away too. I'm so glad I'm not the only person from last week's episode that doesn't believe that we've been to space. Like, especially the Katy Perry situation. You guys, I got so many people saying that they agree, because it's very odd. And then after I talked about it, I started getting TikToks about people dissecting it. And there's this one video of who is the billionaire that was there? Jeff Bezos. And he went to go open it without the little lever or whatever, and it opened up from the inside, and everyone's like, that should not have happened. And then they faked it with the lever as if we didn't just see it in 4K. It was just crazy. Like the whole thing, I don't believe it for a second. I just really, really don't. But I hope they had fun, and people are really, really mad about it. They really are, which I was unaware of until I started talking about it. Like, people are mad that whole thing happened, which, is very valid. But listen, it's really none of my business. I want to talk about in today's episode something that I have never talked about on the internet before, which is kind of crazy because I tell you guys everything. But it's something that's really hard for me to talk about because it makes it more real, if that makes sense. And if this is something that you struggle with, then that will make sense for you. But I wanted to talk about my struggles through the years with OCD. So I struggle with something called purely obsessive OCD, which whenever you hear OCD, you think people need to have their shoes in a line, and they need to have their house in order, or, they start like ticking, or they have to turn off the lights 6 times before they can turn it off. And that is a form of OCD, but I struggle with purely obsessive OCD, which is basically just intrusive thoughts that get taken completely out of hand. So everyone deals with intrusive thoughts. That's a normal human thing. But if you struggle with purely obsessive OCD, something that happens is you will have intrusive thoughts and they just get taken to a completely different level, and it feels like you don't have control over them anymore. So for example, I have to be careful of different stories that I listen to, because my mind will start to convince me that it's happening to me or that it will happen to me, and I get very obsessed with it. So for example, this is one that happened about a year and a half ago. So I guess Beckham's 2 and some change now. So it happened right after she was born. And I saw this story of this woman that gave birth, and then she went into a psychosis and went crazy and killed herself. And I started getting completely obsessed with being scared that I was going to go into a psychosis and kill myself. Like, that sounds so silly, because you could just be like, oh, Mackenzie, that's crazy. Like, you would never do that. But your brain will try to convince you that that can happen to you. And you just get very obsessed with the thought. And I don't necessarily struggle with like fear of death or the anxiety of death or anything like that, thankfully. But it's really just the thought of bad things happening once they enter my mind. And my mind will convince me, because it entered my mind, that it's going to happen. So the reason why I even wanted to talk about this is I was actually dealing with it really heavily in Mexico. I had this thought that I was going to die on the plane. And I don't know where it came from. It just entered my mind. I maybe saw a clip possibly, or something brought it into my mind. And I just started really thinking about that. And the thing with struggling with this is you really cannot trust gut feelings when you deal with purely obsessive OCD, because it will feel like a gut feeling, but really it's just your OCD trying to tell you that. And so I was just convincing myself, oh my gosh, I have a gut feeling like we might need to change our flight, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously I did not die on the plane. So it was the OCD. I try not to claim things over my life and say like my OCD, or like I deal with this. Like, I really just say like, this is something I struggle with, and not claim it over my life. Like, I have this thing or whatever, because I think when you claim something, you start to own it and it becomes your own. And I do not claim that over my life. And I've made so much progress over the years. My main thing that started this was relationship OCD. If you guys have ever heard of that, it's basically where you really struggle with certain thoughts with your relationship. So for example, if I had something in my mind that Darren was going to do and he didn't do it, it turned into this whole thing that was like, are we supposed to be together? Do I have somebody out there that's better for me? And when we were about to get engaged, I really, really struggled with this. We had been together for 5 years, and I was just in my head going crazy. Like, oh my gosh, am I getting cold feet? Blah, 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 blah. I had never heard of relationship OCD in my life. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is a gut feeling, and it's not good that I'm having these thoughts, and we just need to break up and not be together. And then I started doing some research, and relationship OCD came up, and I had pretty much every single sign of relationship OCD. Like, there was nothing wrong in our relationship, but I was just like trying to pinpoint certain things if things weren't perfect and if things didn't align perfectly. And I ended up getting 6 months of therapy for this specific type of OCD. And it was so helpful to make me not feel crazy. And another thing that would give me a lot of anxiety is people are like, you have this gut feeling, you know, if you have this certain feeling, then that means that y'all need to break up. And I would be like, oh my gosh, like this is a sign from God that that's another big thing with this type of OCD is you look for signs, especially if you're a Christian. you look for signs from God of, I'm not supposed to be with this person, I'm supposed to be with this person. So I would be begging God, like, take Darren away from me if we're not supposed to be together. And then it would be like, oh, my brain would try to tell me, you just don't want to do the hard thing and break up. And I would be like, no, that's not true. I just feel like I'm struggling with these thoughts that makes no sense, that I have never had before. And there's literally no reason for them. And yeah, I would just try to convince myself of these different signs. And then I would basically ask God, like, show me this thing if we're not supposed to be together. And he would never show it to me. And then I would be like, oh my God, that's a sign that God wants me to do something on my own. It just is this crazy spiral. And I know it sounds so silly because if you don't struggle with this, you're just like, well, if nothing's wrong with your relationship and it's relationship OCD, like, you have nothing to worry about. But your brain will feed you all of these thoughts that you just completely obsess over, and it brings up so much anxiety. I remember back when I was struggling with it super heavily, I was super skinny and it was really hard for me to eat because I was so anxious. And looking back on that time, it's so sad for me now that I have made so much progress with this, and I don't struggle with relationship OCD at all anymore. It's just now other obsessive thoughts. Like, for example, the plane thing was a big one for me this past week. But your brain will just feed you certain thoughts that you obsess over. And I have learned now, like, I went through exposure therapy is what they call it. And I went through that for 6 months. And basically so for example, if I had this thought, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm about to die on this bridge. A lot of times if you struggle with this, your brain will tell you to just avoid it altogether, or tell yourself, stop having that thought, stop having the thought. And in reality, you're supposed to drive over the bridge and allow yourself to have the thought and just be like, it is what it is, basically, and just sit with the thought. And that's called exposure therapy. Or you'll tell yourself to have the thought more so that you just get exposed to it and it gives it less power. And I hated it whenever I was going through it because I was like, I do not want to have these thoughts. And I ended up just like trusting that the Lord was going to heal me of this. And I went through it. I trusted the process, and actually, clearly, I'm fine now. So it was very, very helpful. And let me go back to the bridge thing. So your mind would try to tell you, don't go over the bridge, avoid it altogether, and stop having that thought. And what it does is it just manifests into having more of those thoughts and a deeper thought, and makes you even more anxious. And so you're just supposed to drive over the bridge and allow yourself to have the thought, like, I'm sure I'm going to die on this bridge, like almost like agreeing with it. Then clearly you get over the bridge and you didn't die. So you're fine. Another thing is, like, this would be so random in Darren and I's relationship. I would be like, okay, if Darren doesn't show up with flowers tonight, then we have to break up. And my brain would just make that up. And then if he didn't show up with flowers, I'd be like, oh my God, we're not supposed to be together. I know it sounds crazy, but if you struggle with this, like, it's like the craziest things. And one of my other friends struggles with this as well. And we will just tell each other our different thoughts, and we just laugh together because we're like, saying it out loud, you're like, girl, this is actually insane. But whenever your brain is trying to convince you, it doesn't sound that crazy. You're like, oh, wow, this is a sign. This is a gut feeling. And clearly it's just your OCD trying to lie to you. I think the reason why I've never talked about it online is I was just kind of scared to get judged. And a lot of times also people will use the term OCD and it's not actually OCD. Or they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm so OCD. Like, I have to have my house clean or whatever. And that is a type of OCD. But this is obviously just the obsessive kind of thoughts and intrusive thoughts that are just taken too far. And thankfully, I really have been healed of this. And I have so much more freedom from this. And I think that comes from therapy and also just trusting God that it was going to eventually go away for me, and it has. And that doesn't mean that, I think this is another thing that people get confused. Sometimes you can be healed and it still happen and you just not feed into it. Like, I could really convince myself, because I was having so many thoughts this past weekend about the plane situation, that I've reverted back and I'm back to where I used to be and blah, blah, blah. And that could also make me super anxious. But it's not true. It's just my flesh wanting to feed back into a life that I once lived of just like anxious thinking and just feeding into the OCD. And no, I was like, I'm not going to give into it. Clearly, I still got on the plane and I just told myself I have to trust that I'm going to be okay. And clearly I'm not dead, so I'm fine. But if this is something that you struggle with, this is why I wanted to talk about it, because I want, if somebody never came and talked about it, I would have never found out that this was what I was dealing with in general. And then I just would have thought that I was going crazy, and I probably would have ruined my life by not being with Darren over it. And yeah, then I started looking at relationship OCD and I was like, oh, this is what I have and I need to get help for it. And I need to stop calling it relationship OCD, because it's really like in general just the strictly obsessive OCD, where it's like different thoughts like that. But mine kind of manifested it into my relationship during my engagement season. And so, yeah, I just want you to know you're not alone, and you should maybe do some research if this is some thoughts that you have, and hopefully that can be helpful for you to not feel crazy. Another form that I don't struggle with that I guess I kind of do, because, well, no, I don't. I won't claim that, but Jake Shane, who, if y'all don't know who that is, he's another podcaster. He's just in like the celebrity realm. He struggles with the OCD of eventually going crazy. So like he will like diagnose himself with all of this like crazy stuff. Like he's scared of being schizophrenic one day, and he gets really obsessive over that and like really scared that he's like eventually going to be that and whatever. And he's been open about that on his podcast. And I know that that's helped so many people, because it really will make you feel crazy and alone, but you're not. And I've seen the other side of it. Can't speak for Jake Shane. I don't know where he is on his journey, but I've seen the other side of it. And I'm so thankful that somebody came forward and talked about it. And so I hope that this in some way can feel comforting for you and make you feel less crazy, because you aren't crazy. And it's just your brain offering you a thought. And I remember whenever I was in therapy, my therapist would use the example of, if your brain is telling you that there's a lion in the room, you're going to go crazy looking for the lion, trying to protect yourself. And that's all that these thoughts are. It's basically your brain trying to tell you, hey, there's a lion in the room. So you're going crazy looking for the lion, trying to protect yourself, when in reality, there's not a lion in the room. It's just your brain trying to tell you that there is, and your body is reacting to that information, and your mind is reacting to that information. And I remember when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so comforting. There's not a lion in the room. I'm okay. And my body and my mind can be at ease. So I hope that made sense to you guys. But yeah, I hope that's comforting. And I would love y'all's feedback on if this is something that you've struggled with. My DMs are always open, and I hope that I can be a comfort for you. And I'm honestly proud of myself, because I was trying to talk myself out of talking about this for a lot of different reasons. And it's just very triggering too, like talking about it and I don't know, I guess just like admitting that it's something that I once struggled with so heavily, and that still comes up every once in a while for me now. It's hard. And I don't know. I just hope that it's comforting for you guys and you feel normal. Now back to my normal scheduled programming. I thought I was pregnant, like very much so, this last 2 weeks. We were supposed to go on our anniversary trip, and I was supposed to get it equals period. The week before I was supposed to go. So it's the week before, I'm like tracking, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm a little late. That's fine. I just had a baby. It's not going to be completely regular. It's fine. 2-3 days. I'm like, yeah, like it's ended up on our trip. I'm like definitely supposed to have started by now. 5 days goes by. We're about to leave for our trip. I'm like, okay. So I took 2 pregnancy tests before I left. They were negative, clearly. And while we are on our trip, still haven't. And which now I told the story on TikTok, and I did get some witchcraft comments. So I'm a little scared, and I immediately rebuked and prayed. But they were telling us on the spa treatment, they're like, the god of fertility is with you, and started talking about all these babies and baby this, baby that, like y'all are gonna have a baby. And I'm like, what is going on? Y'all are scaring me. And me and Darren are just looking at each other like, hope not, hope not, like making like silly jokes. And they were just going on and on and on. And so I'm like fearing for my life. And so we found a pregnancy test for her there and we took it. And I was like, Darren, I'm scared. And we took it and lo and behold, we are not. And then guess what? Came home, took 2 more because I was scared, fearing for my life yesterday morning. And then yesterday, right before Becca's swim lessons, Mother Nature arrived, as she should have 9 days prior. I don't know what was going on with that. I really don't. Now, all I can do is praise God that what's done is done. I want more kids. I might want 1. I might want 2 more, but not now, guys. Not now. I would love, God willing, for us to be able to plan our next. And we are very, very careful. And I just can't. I really can't deal with that right now, mentally, emotionally, physically. Now, the thing that is comforting is our good friends, Josh and Savannah, got pregnant 4 months postpartum. And I was like, listen, at least I'm a few months past that and they're thriving. They still live their life. They're amazing parents. They made it work. And that is my comfort for knowing that if I absolutely needed to, I could do it and God would give me the strength. But I don't know if that's a strength I'm willing to ask for right now in life. And I would love to have, I don't know, like 2 years of just not being pregnant, of being, I don't know. I feel like I just now got back into my normal routine of working out, taking care of myself, eating healthy, being able to cook, being able to have a good schedule, giving my kids all my attention and, you know, not feeling so divided. And I feel like if we had another baby right now, I would be super divided. And yeah, I just don't know if I'm ready for all of that. So yeah, on the trip, I was planning wait, let me just immediately moving on. The conclusion is I'm not pregnant and, you know, I hope to not be for a little while. But, you know, if I pop up one day and I'm pregnant, just know God's got me. Okay, I'll be taken care of. Anyway, I was going to go into me saying that on the trip, I was planning my night out in Italy dinner party that I'm hosting on Thursday, which I'm so excited about. I had this idea because I have not hosted in 3 months, which is so unlike me. I usually host something every few weeks. Like I try to host some kind of something, and I wanted to host something for February. And then my friend Ashley ended up doing a Galentine's. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do a Galentine's. And I was still so fresh postpartum. I really am tired all of the time, guys. I really am. And so the thought of adding anything else to my plate feels overwhelming, but hosting is like in my soul and I love to do it so much. And I just need to push past and do it. So I was like, look, I am planning something for this month and I have been wanting to do a night out in Italy party for so long. And so I said, you know what? We're doing it. This month is the month. We're almost into summer, which is right on theme. I need prosciutto. Is it prosciutto? Okay. I need me looking at my producer like, is it prosciutto? Please help. Google chat. Is it prosciutto? I need tomatoes. I need lemons. I need limoncello. I need wine. I literally don't even drink, but still, it's part of the theme. I need pasta. I need pizza. Like I need to plan something and I need it to be fun and cute. And so I'm doing it. And I need to go today to go get some stuff for it. But I already ordered this like Italian artwork that I'm going to put in this picture frame. And then I had this idea equals, I also saw this on Pinterest. It's not original, but it's this big bread loaf and you cut things in it and you put tall candles in it. And I just thought that was cute and very like Italian. I don't know if you guys can get the vision. You guys will just have to see it. By the time that this episode comes out, you guys can go watch all of the stuff at the party. But yeah, I'm so excited. I'm going to get so many lemons. I'm doing lemon sorbet. I'm going to cut out the inside of a lemon and put sorbet in them and freeze them. And it's going to be so good. I'm going to get this berry cake from Whole Foods. That's not like super Italian, but I'm going to get cannolis. But the berry, I don't know. I just saw a berry cake and it was kind of giving Italian. So that's what I'm doing. And also, who doesn't like berry cake? Hello. But anyway, that's what I'll be doing this afternoon. We'll be planning the night in Italy stuff, because also I went to Walmart last week. Why are we sleeping on Walmart constantly? Like we have got to stop doing Walmart like that, because they actually have so many good things for way cheaper. They have really stepped up as far as decor goes. I saw these bowls that were blue and then they had lemons all over them, which is like right on theme, and they were like $8. Meanwhile, if you go to, I don't know, like any other place, I feel like, or even Amazon, it's gonna be double the price and not as cute. And I really like to shop in person too, because it just really helps bring the vision to life. And as well, you can do it on Amazon, but it's just not gonna hit the same. And I like to just do it in person, and they have so many good things. I also need to get, I'm actually thinking out loud of making my list right now, this wine decanter, because I think that would be cute on the table with like bread. I'm getting garlic bread, this different pasta. There's this place called The Pasta Project. I'm not cooking all of that stuff. That is just not happening. And I probably will never be that kind of host. I'm probably always going to cater, because that's just what the Lord has for me. Okay. I cannot be out in the kitchen doing all that. It's just too much, as well as setting everything up by myself. Like I can't do that. Now I did get some news that Darren will be at the draft, and my party's in 2 days. He told me last night that he has to go, and not has to go, but is going for a work opportunity. So he will be gone during that, which will be so interesting, trying to see how I'm going to set all of that up with both of the kids. I'm going to try to do as much as I can before he leaves. He's really only gone for like less than 24 hours, but it'll just be interesting trying to figure out how I'm going to do all that without him here. I'm going to have to pull in the grandmas, but the grandmas watch the kids while we were gone. And so I do have this thing where if somebody helps me, I feel like I have a time limit of the next time I can ask them to help me. And my mom gets so mad at me because she's like, Mackenzie, just ask. You don't have to feel bad about it. But I'm like, if you helped me one afternoon, I feel like I have to wait another week until you can help me again. And that's probably something that I need to like look into, because that's probably an unhealthy thing where I have like measurements of how often I can get help. I feel like that's probably like a toxic thing of mine, but I'll have to deal with that another day. Hopefully one of them can help me, because I don't know how else I'd be setting up for this party unless Beckham's going to start washing some lemons and making limoncello with me, and Kaysen can roll around in his little walker watching us. Otherwise, I don't really know how I'm going to do that if they can't. There's this trend right now that I really need help with understanding on TikTok, where the top comment is like, Zahid did this trend better, like Clint did this trend better, and it never makes sense. And all the comments underneath are like, oh my gosh, y'all are so annoying. I have tried so hard to figure out what this means and why people are commenting it and how I can get away from it, because I'm like, this is just annoying. I know that it's a trolling thing at this point. Like at some point, I think someone did a trend and then someone tried to follow up and it didn't meet their expectations or something, and then turned into this thing where they were commenting it on every single thing. But I'm getting so annoyed with that being the top comment of every video. But I don't understand if I'm missing something. Like, what is funny about it, and why do people keep doing it? I need help. Okay, let's get into a Mackenzies Mindset today. I will probably do one or two, because I feel like I've only been doing one, and I used to do like 2 or 3 each episode. So we need to bring back the 2 or 3s. If you guys don't know, Mackenzies Mindset is a segment that I do at the end of every podcast episode, where I give my mindset on your scenarios, or really whatever you guys, it could be a specific scenario, or it can just be a topic that you guys want to know about, and I just give my mindset on it. So let's get into the first Mackenzies Mindset. My boyfriend and I have been together for over 2 years and moved in together recently. We've never had issues with trust or being completely open with one another. However, I've realized he isn't always honest with me about one specific thing, and it's drinking. I'm not a drinker, but it's never bothered me when other people do. When he does things with his friends, he'll tell me he had 1 or 2 drinks, and later on tells me he had a lot more than that. I don't like that he's lying about it, and I don't know why he does. How do I approach this conversation, as I really want to move past that and make sure he feels comfortable being honest from the get-go? Yeah, this is tough. I would say, first of all, you definitely need to have a conversation with him about it and ask him just straight up, why is this something that you aren't always honest about? I would say that he probably knows he's doing something wrong if he feels the need to lie about it, which is sad. Maybe he does only want to have one or two and then he can't stop after he has that. And so he ends up having more and more. Maybe that's just something that he struggles with is knowing his limits. I don't want to project anything that I don't know for sure because I clearly am not in your relationship and I don't know him, but it would concern me that if he's easily lying about that he would be lying about something else. And there really should be full honesty in a relationship. And yeah, I wouldn't try to convince yourself that it's okay that he isn't honest about it because he's just only dishonest about one thing, or try to downplay it, because that is a serious thing. And you don't ever want that to manifest into something bigger where you guys later down the road end up getting married and he is drinking very heavily and he's not honest about it and it becomes this huge ordeal, because that really is a big deal and can affect a lot. And I'm not saying that he has an addiction by any means, because it doesn't sound like he does based off of your message, but I would definitely be wary of that and just ask him to be honest about it, and maybe ask him why he isn't honest about it. And I'm sure there is a deeper reason why, because it sounds like he just might be ashamed. So yeah, definitely have a conversation about that. Don't try to downplay that because that could definitely turn into a bigger thing. And it's important to have full honesty in a relationship, not full honesty besides this one thing, because that can really turn into a bigger thing. All right, the second Mackenzies Mindset. Do you guys set boundaries with your families now that you are married and have kids? I would love to hear the pros and cons, if there are any cons to living close to family. My husband and I just got married and live in Florida, where we went to college, but now really feel like God is directing our next steps to move where I grew up. I'm so excited, but I'm a little nervous to live close to my family because I haven't lived close to home in so long, and the dynamic is going to be so different now. This really is depending on your family. So my mom and his mom are the only family that we have close to us. His dad lives in Atlanta and my dad is no longer side. So those are the only people that we really have to cater to, is both of our moms. And I really don't have specific advice on this because both of our moms are amazing. And I do want to do a podcast episode with his mom about mother-in-law syndrome and how to avoid it. But I really do believe in boundaries, and I'll just use this as an example for if, for whatever reason, if neither of our moms were respecting our boundaries, I would definitely set boundaries with them and be very stern about it. So for example, if me and my mom live in the same neighborhood, if she was showing up uninvited, I would have a conversation with her and say, hey, thank you so much for all of your help, and we appreciate you, and we literally cannot do this without you. But I would really love if we could know a few hours beforehand that you were coming, rather than just showing up at our door. Or if, I'm just trying to think of different examples that I feel like I've gotten questions about. If his mom was trying to discipline our kids in a way that I didn't appreciate, that would be a conversation that he would have with his mom. Like, hey, thank you for your help, but we don't need you to discipline the kids like that. Like, we have that under control and we don't need your help in that way. So yes, I definitely think that boundaries are necessary. And if you don't think that your parents would be able to accept a conversation like that, then more boundaries would have to be put up. But I think for the most part, your parents will probably just be happy to be a part of your kids' lives and you all's lives, and are going to want to accommodate that the best way that they can, especially now that you're married. And I think that this is obviously a big deal, but it's very much hyped up to be something that it's not most of the time. Like, I think that they also have their own lives and they probably just want to be helpful for the most part, and that there's nothing that a conversation can't fix unless they're crazy. Then I can't really help you there. I truly can't. Because there are some people that do have crazy parents, and there's nothing that you can do to get them to stop acting crazy. And I would probably not recommend living near people like that. But it sounds like to me like you have a pretty good family dynamic, and there's nothing that a conversation can't fix. Okay, folks. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. I need more Mackenzies Mindsets. So you guys send them in and I will try to get to them. I always save them to my notes whenever they get sent in. So give me any topic or any specific scenario and I would love to give my mindset on it. Thank you guys so much for being so supportive of this podcast. I truly would not keep going if I did not have y'all support, so I really appreciate it. If you guys watch on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. We're almost to 40K and I'll do a big giveaway. And then if you guys watch on Spotify or Apple, then you guys can follow along there as well. And I will see you guys next Monday with a new episode of Not Everybody Needs a Podcast. Love ya. Mwah.